everyone. Hope you're having a great week so far. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Operationalize Productivity, Scaling and Governing the AI-Driven Lifecycle with Amazon Q and Opsera. Today, experts from AWS and Opsera will explore how organizations can safely scale AI-powered development while maintaining the visibility, control, and governance required for enterprise environments. To start, just some housekeeping. Today's session is being recorded, and we'll share the recording with all registrants after the event, so no worries there. And with that, I'm excited to introduce Soumya, Director of Product Management at Opsera, who will kick things off and set the stage for today's conversation. Soumya, over to you.
Hey, hi all. Thanks, Yusra. I think along with me, we are also having Aruna, who's the Senior Principal Data Architect, heading the Unified Insights platform within Opsera. And we also have a special guest, Austin from Amazon Q. He's a Gen AI GTM specialist, with whom we've been working very closely for the last 6+ months to have, those amazing Amazon Q dashboards available within Opsera. Austin, you want to probably give a quick intro?
Yeah, good to meet everybody. I'm excited to be here today. I'm a go-to-market specialist on our Kiro and Q Developer GTM go-to-market team. Like Soumya said, we've been working closely together the last 6 months or so to help surface some insights that we think will be really valuable and meaningful to leaders across organizations who are using Kiro and Q Developer.
Okay. So yeah, so not just Amazon Q, right? So the AI accelerated development, I think that's the buzzword that we keep hearing, everywhere. So developers are adopting AI assistants faster than ever, but engineering leaders, yeah, they love the velocity, but they also worry about the risk. They worry about the security, the quality of the code that's going in. So in this session, we're going to bridge that gap, right? Showing how to measure and govern and also secure AI generated code right from in a loop to production. Let's imagine this, right? Your developers just shipped twice as much code this quarter, thanks to Amazon Q. Do you celebrate or do you worry about, what might be actually hiding in that code? So that's what we're going to show you today, how to do both, basically accelerate and also govern. And with that, I'll hand it over to Austin. So he's going to tell you how to, basically accelerate your velocity.
Thanks, Soumya. In a few short years, software development has really changed with the AI tools that have come to market and that have continued to evolve and improve. Similar to other big leaps in technology, anytime you have growth or improvement, everyone starts to question productivity and what does that actually mean for users of a particular tool or set of tools. I think back to 2023, we had Amazon Code Whisperer and other tools like it that were focused on autocomplete and the individual user who was writing the code. As the calendar turned to 2024, those tools improved with Amazon Q Developer coming out, and that brought smarter and more effective tooling where your autocomplete functionality was starting to become more of a true coding assistant and companion side by side. With the end of 2025 and into 2026, what we're seeing is agentic development and AI agentic capabilities be much more of an emphasis and focus. So tools like the Kiro IDE and the Kiro CLI are helping organizations rethink their software development lifecycle and think about how to integrate and implement AI-focused development lifecycle across their organizations. As AI functionality continues to improve, leaders have found themselves evolving and what they're looking for from metrics and understanding of AI tooling. A couple years back, it really was just how many people are using using these AI tools, which of those people are using them. But as the tools have all evolved and improved in what they can offer and do, those insights and questions that leaders are looking for have gone to the next step. And people want to understand how does that impact developer productivity and what does this really mean to my organization? So I think about the two most common or frequent questions which I've heard are one, how do I maximize my impact? And two, how can I measure impact? Now, an AI tool is not going to be a magic button that will solve problems in your software development lifecycle due to complexity in the organization, the systems, or the processes that you may already have. Software development is a team effort, and our Amazon-wide data shows that developers are going to converge the performance of a team. It's that saying that a rising tide is going to lift all boats. So rather than focus on individual developer performance, as a leader, your objective should be raising the performance of your teams as a whole. One of the more effective ways we've seen that is when you give your teams the time, the permission, and the ability to explore with AI. When users have their own aha moment and see how AI helps them in their day-to-day work, they're going to figure out how to continue to implement AI across their other tasks and projects that they're working on. And when they share and collaborate with their teammates and help the rest of the team have their own aha moment, that's going to help drive adoption across your organization and really unlock those gains that you're looking for from a new tool standpoint. When it comes to measuring impact, as a leader, you really need a combination of qualitative and quantitative indicators. Now, whether you choose to adopt an existing framework like Dora or Space, or you use a custom homegrown framework like we've done at Amazon with the cost to serve metric, keep in mind that each framework is going to represent a journey. It's not the destination. The critical piece as an organization is to evaluate and agree on which basket of measures or metrics is most important to your organization. If you aren't tracking those yet, then start tracking them today to establish a baseline across your organization. Once you're measuring those metrics, you can find a way to improve. And the goal here is to look at long-term trends towards a clear objective. Now, Kiro and Q developer metrics on their own aren't going to be enough. The usage data that we give in terms of who, when, and how much isn't going to be the same as the impact metrics or information that you'll be looking for. Now, some of our customers are combining that data across multiple sources to build their own impact dashboards. But for organizations that want an out-of-the-box solution, we've been collaborating with Opsera to make that happen, and I'm really excited about what they have to show today.
Yeah, great stuff, Austin. So one thing I'm quite curious about is, when you talk to customers, right, about, adoption of the Amazon Q, how they use it with their IDs on a day-to-day basis. What's that one question every, CISO or VP of engineering asks after seeing that speed, the speed in which the development is actually going on, or the velocity in which things are getting shipped, out to production. Because I have a hunch, it's not, how do we even get faster? It's more about, how do we keep this all under control? So anything that you've heard, from any of your Amazon Q clients, that you could share it to us today.
I think the most important thing is going to be establishing the right processes in place at your organization.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the right processes in place or if your systems are broken, then introducing an
Mm-hmm.
AI tool that allows your developers to build and ship faster is just going to compound the problems. And rather than being excited about the improvements and the increase in productivity that you've achieved, you're going to have teams and leaders who are frustrated because unblocking one bottleneck in the process has resulted in the identification of additional bottlenecks.
All right. Yeah. That's yeah. So yeah, thanks, Austin. I think you just showed us, how Amazon Q is transforming, the inner loop, giving developers incredible speed. But yeah, as its speed increases, yeah, so does the challenge of, keeping the code secure and compliant. And yeah, that's where, we come into picture. So that's where Opsera and Opsera's unified insights come into picture. So taking a look at what what we have here, right? So we have security gaps, governance lags, and heterogeneous complexity. We clearly seeing that the AI acceleration is actually outpacing governance, right? So AI generated code basically ships vulnerabilities faster, than the teams can actually catch them. And when it comes to governance lag, yes, your traditional compliance frameworks simply weren't built, for AI speed of delivery. And with heterogeneous complexity, yeah, not everything lives on AWS, right? We have acquisitions, we have legacy systems, we have diverse tool chains. So it leaves your entire portfolio kind of unprotected. So as a result, yes, your security, your quality, and your compliance teams are actually, trying to run at the speed of your AI coding assistant, actually. And when you add, AI acceleration to the mix, yeah, that gap is actually, widening even more faster. And so, yeah, how do we close it? Yeah, that's where we have a couple of, dashboards that we would like to, show you. I'm going to ask Aruna to give a detailed demo, but before that, I want to give you a highlight on how we have integrated into Amazon Q and the dashboards that you see here. This is where we are actually moving from problem to solution. So Opsera Insights, it gives you the observability layer that actually connects Amazon Q's speed to production ready outcomes. So here you can see exactly how teams are adopting Amazon Q, right from active users, right from usage data, right from the acceptance rate and their suggestion rates and etc. But we don't stop at adoption. We correlate that data with what actually matters, right? I mean, your code performance. We look at your lead time, we look at your cycle time, and what's the time that's taken, for the PR to move, into actual production, right? And we also try to differentiate and show between, the Amazon Q user and a non-Amazon Q user. So to prove that acceleration is real, not just more code, and then we also help in catering faster deliveries, right? So we basically move from hoping AI helps to knowing it actually does, right? So that's where we stop. You've seen, Austin, you've seen our dashboards, right? We've seen a glimpse of these dashboards, and you've actually helped us, build the dashboards over here. Has any of these, helped in understanding how much Amazon Q is actually helping, some of our, key developers or key users? Any insights on that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So when I think about back to last fall when we first started working with Opsera, the first dashboard that your team had put together had information around adoption, and that was great. But as I mentioned before, we know that leaders are looking beyond adoption to impact, and so it's
Mhm.
been fantastic to see the progression of these dashboards where it's not just adoption now, but some of those metrics I see in that bottom right table, for example, time to PR, cycle time, those are things that leaders are looking for and understanding, is this actually making a meaningful impact on my organization? It's really easy to get caught up in some of the headlines that get published where using an AI tool is going to drive, 50%, 80%, 100% improvement in productivity gains. But what we know is those are just headlines. And what really matters is as an organization, seeing before and after for your specific organization. And so I love the views that these dashboards are surfacing, helping leaders understand in simple terms, what does this actually mean for my organization, both broadly across the organization and then as well at different organizational levels across the teams that I have.
Great. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Austin. While we saw how Amazon Q is helping developers, in the inner loop, right? But, let's kind of zoom out to the outer loop. So where code actually meets production, right? Remember the heterogeneous complexity that I mentioned about, right, on the previous challenge slide? If only, we know what actually happens inside AWS, we are protecting just one piece of the puzzle. Whereas the Opsera's leadership dashboard here, we aggregate data from every tool that your team is using, starting from your AI, coding assistant tool here with Amazon Q to any CI tool, CD tool, your security and your quality tool into a single pane of glass. This is going to be, one-shot cockpit view for all your executives and your developers. And now, let's say, a VP of engineering or the CISO, he can see the full picture, right from, your AI coding assistant impact to your throughput, to your velocity, and to your quality. And all of this gets correlated, right, according to your AI acceleration. So this is how you govern at AI speed, right? Not by slowing down. but they're bringing visibility to, every corner of your portfolio. So basically, you don't have any blind spots, no compliance gaps, just faster code that's also safe and, quality code that goes into your production. So with that, I think, we went over all the dashboards, but we would love, you guys to see how it's actually working. So I'll hand it over to Aruna. Before that, what are the key takeaways that we are looking at so that you can, quickly resonate with what you're going to see in the demo? Adoption without insight is just hope, right? So, we track licenses, but Opsera actually tells you what you've gained, right? From not just looking at your active users to your very beautiful acceptance rate, but to actual pipeline performance. Velocity without governance is risk. So with the speed of AI and with this speed, the accelerated way of velocity is going, without a proper governance, without a single pane of view, everything is going to be at risk. And finally, your ROI without proof is just a story. You have to defend every dollar that is being invested in AI. We have to correlate adoption metrics to your Dora and to your, security metrics as well. So your next budget conversations actually, kind of starts with data and it goes pretty smoothly as well. So with those, I'll hand it over to Aruna for the demo.
Yep. Sure. I hope you can see it, right?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yeah. Thanks, Soumya. Thanks, Austin. So yeah, before we dive into the dashboards, let me give you a quick frame of for how Opsera thinks about measuring AI-powered software delivery. We organize the entire delivery lifecycle into two loops. Soumya has already highlighted these loops, right? The inner loop and the outer loop. So the inner loop is where your developers live day to day, coding, building, testing, and maintaining the quality. And this is where the AI code assistants like Amazon Q are having the most immediate impact. And next is the outer loop, is where the code gets hardened and shipped. Security scanning, integration, and deployment, where your governance and delivery performance comes into play. So everything we are about to show you maps to one or both of these loops. And that structure is what allows us to connect developer level productivity all the way up to the metrics that matter in a boardroom conversation. So with that context, let's start with the Amazon Q dashboard. So let's start with adoption. So this is your foundational fundamental health check. At a glance, you can see how many users have been allocated licenses to Amazon Q, and more importantly, how many are actually using it. The activation rate metric is critical. It tells you whether your investment is translating into real usage or whether you have seats sitting idle. In short, this panel answers the most fundamental question that any leader needs to ask: are people actually using what we are paying for? And moving to impact, this is where we go beyond adoption and ask, is the tool actually delivering value? We track the full journey of a suggestion from how many lines of code Amazon Q proposes to how many developers actually accept. And critically, how many of those accepted suggestions stay in the code base over time. So that last metric, suggestion retention rate, is your strongest quality signal. And you'll notice there's even a built-in goal line to benchmark against the industry standards. So together, these metrics give engineering leaders a clear end-to-end answer to the question that matters the most. Is this tool writing code that's good enough to ship? So as we all, Soumya highlighted in her slides as well, when she was presenting, we just don't stop at measuring the impact of AI code analysis or any telemetry data that comes from that we get from the AI code assistants, right? So we extend to what goes into the code, what actually goes into the code, and what is the time taken for a developer to raise a commit, to raise a pull request, to make a commit, to raise a pull request, and how long does it take for the pull request to get approved. So this section gets to the heart of the developer velocity. So we are looking at three relevant Dora aligned metrics: time to PR, cycle time, and lead time for change, all of which measure how fast code moves from return to shipped. What makes this particularly powerful is the toggle that you see here, Amazon queue versus non-Amazon queue. Users, you're not just seeing overall team performance, you can directly compare developers using the tool against those who aren't, making it one of the clearest ways to isolate and demonstrate the ROI of Amazon queue. If you see a consistent gap between the two groups, that's your business case for broader rollout. And if the gap is narrowing, that's your signal to make the next set of decisions. And the activity tab, whereas shifts the lens from speed to output volume. So how much of code is actually being produced? We are tracking open pull requests, the number of pull requests that gets merged, and the overall total number of commits that gets written by developers. And across teams, again, the real power here is the Amazon queue versus the non-Amazon queue breakdown. So this lets you see whether the developers using the tool are generating more output over time, more commits, more PRs, moving through the pipeline. It's a tangible way to connect AI assistance to engineering throughput. And when you spot the divergence between the two groups in the trend chart, that's your evidence for productivity lift Amazon queue is delivering at the ground level. So what you've just seen is our standalone dashboard built on Amazon Q telemetry, giving you clear visibility into adoption, code impact, developer velocity, all in one place. But as Soumya highlighted, Opsera doesn't stop at developer activity. We extend the measurement across the entire AI-powered delivery lifecycle, which we shortly call as AI DLC, weaving in security, quality, and Dora metrics to give you the complete picture. Because productivity without governance is incomplete, and that's exactly the gap that we close. So what I'm going to show you next is the dashboard that every engineering technology leader has been asking for, that one that connects the dots from AI assistance all the way through the secure, high-quality software delivery. So this is the unified leadership dashboard. And what makes it special is how it's structured. Across the top, you have 4 lenses that every engineering leader cares about: AI code assistance performance, throughput, velocity, and quality. Click into any of them, and the bottom half of the dashboard drills into the underlying metrics with trend lines and goals and benchmarks. So you're never just looking at a number in isolation, you're looking at a trajectory and whether you're on track. What's powerful here is the breadth of coverage in a single view. You're connecting AI adoption and code output to planning discipline through Sedu percentage, to delivery speed through Dora metrics like lead time for changes in deployment frequency, and all the way through the resilience indicators for such as like change failure rate and mean time to resolve. This isn't a developer productivity dashboard. It's a full software delivery health scorecard, I would say. And with goal lines built into every metric, leaders can have data-driven conversations with their teams about where to focus, what's improving, and where intervention is needed without having to stitch together reports from 5 or 6 different tools. And yeah, so this configuration panel that you see here is what makes this dashboard truly enterprise ready. The ability to slice it to your context and set goals that are meaningful to your organization. On the filter side, you can scope the entire view down into a specific organization, a product, an application, or a project. So every leader is looking at the data at the relevance to their team, not just a company-wide aggregate. On the configuration side, you can define your own goal thresholds for every metric categories, such as AI code assistance, throughput, velocity, and quality. Or simply use the platform defaults. This means the goal lines that you saw on these trend charts here. Yeah, the goal lines that you see on the trend charts here. These are targets your organizations have deliberately set for the specific groups, maybe like for the product, for the application, whatever level of hierarchy that is being set for. That's what turns this from a reporting tool into an accountability tool. And this is like within an organization, each and every team works differently. Each and every team has their own defined processes. So you cannot compare. Most of them will not be able to compare apples and oranges. So that is why they can create their own dashboard, and they can set their own thresholds depending on how their process is established and how their process is set. So a team might be just starting to progress on this journey, so their thresholds will be much lesser than the thresholds compared to a overly matured team, which has been delivering and which has been established processes for quite some time. So yeah, so this, as I said, this translates from a reporting tool into an accountability tool, where teams know exactly what good looks like, and leaders can have a precise goal-driven conversations at any level of the organization. And that's the full picture. Opsera's coverage spans both loops end-to-end, connecting AI-assisted development in the inner loop, all the way through secure, high-quality delivery in the outer loop. And as Austin highlighted at the beginning of the session, focus should be on raising performance of teams as a whole. So the leadership dashboard does exactly that. So it helps you compare how teams are performing, and it also helps you take best practices and motivate best practices amongst teams that can be shared. What worked for one team may work for another team as well, so they can be shared as well. So in that way, this leadership dashboard is where two worlds converge, giving every stakeholder from engineering managers to C-suite a single coherent scorecard that ties AI adoption directly to business outcomes. No more stitching together reports, no more flying blind on ROI, just one view across the entire delivery life cycle. Yeah. Before I pass it on back to the panel, probably Soumya, you want to bring up the slides again. I wanted to give you a quick peek into what's coming next in Opsera. Yeah. So in the upcoming weeks, thanks, Soumya. Yeah, in the upcoming weeks, Opsera will be releasing a new set of dashboards specifically built around Kiro CLI. Amazon's newly launched agentic coding tool. You'll get visibility into total messages, chat conversations, credit consumptions, etc., and daily engagement patterns, giving you the same depth of observability for Kiro that you've seen today for Amazon Q. This matters because Kiro represents the next evolution of AI-assisted development, moving beyond code suggestions into autonomous, agent-driven workflows. Being able to measure adoption, track credit efficiency, and monitor engagement from day one is critical to understanding the value it's delivering across your engineering teams. So this is on our immediate roadmap, so watch this space.
So, Aruna, one question I have for you is, if I'm on Q Developer, how hard is it for me to get this set up where I can see these views that you have within Opsera?
Yep. So you have a prerequisite that's required, right, by the developers to set up the S3 bucket. So once that is done, once they have all the S3 buckets set up, they just have to connect to Opsera using the Opsera's tool registry by providing their IAM credentials. And from there, the journey begins. Opsera will be able to access the data, pull the data, and transform it in such a way that it can correlate and contextualize based on how the user wants to view it. So yeah, rough timeline, depending on the volume of the data, it takes less than about 48 hours.
That's great.
Yeah, Samir, you can probably move on to the next slide. Yeah, so key takeaway here, yes, we all know there are a lot of AI coding assistant tools in the market that's coming in, but how Amazon Q makes it special and how Kiro CLI is going to make it really special is it's going to make developers code faster, deliver add more lines of code and into the code base and make more contributions in a much faster and quicker way. So on a whole, Amazon and Opsera, they're complementary, not competing, of course. So
All right. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, Aruna. And thanks for the, great insights in the demo. So I think all of you, would have seen the actual connection between the inner loop and the outer loop. So we're not just, looking at the Amazon Q agents. We're also looking at, how you can actually measure, the AI usage of, using Amazon and how it actually connects you, to your entire AI DLC performance. So with that, we do have some questions coming up. So
Awesome. Yeah. I'll moderate, but thanks so much to the panelists for the engaging discussion. Don't worry, like Soumya said, there's still some time left in this session. Um, we have a couple of questions in our Q&A. We can start with, as a development manager, I need to know how Q affects the deliverables. How do I know that more bugs and vulnerabilities aren't slipping through the cracks as AI use increases? Soumya, why don't we start with you?
yep. So as you saw the Amazon Q dashboards, with any AI coding assistant adoption and usage, what Opsera, deep dives is into, correlating with the security and the quality aspect. So how probably different organizations are measuring, the security and the quality aspects at different tools, but Opsera seamlessly integrates into all of these tools. Whilst you can actually see the security quality correlation within your Amazon Q dashboards, but yes, you can also use our, leadership dashboards, which will give you, a side-by-side view of, how your security is doing, your quality is doing, as and when your, AI coding impact is actually having a change within your organization. So yes, through Opsera's other dashboards, you can measure it separately, but if you want to correlate it with your AI acceleration, you can do it through Amazon Q dashboards and also through leadership dashboards.
or just to add to that, we have dedicated separate security dashboards also, which focuses only on security results. So yeah, if users want to see that independently out of the AI code assistant tool as well, we'll be able to do that also.
One other thing I'll add is this is where I think it's really important to identify what matters to you as an organization so that you're not incentivizing or encouraging the wrong behavior from your developers. At the end of the day, it's about shipping faster and not just shipping anything, but shipping high quality
Right.
code that delivers value for your customers.
That's a valid point. Awesome.
Alrighty. On to the next question. We're hearing Q is already helping us code faster, and we find that code is getting stuck in the process before it can be released. Do you have any examples of how this problem was solved at other companies? Austin, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think about the SDLC, and even before AI, code review tended to be a bottleneck at most organizations. You have a much smaller number of senior or principal engineers who are reviewing the code, and so as it gets into the backlog, it grows and grows, and you need to have time from those senior resources to review it. With AI tools, that backlog is growing even faster. But one of the things that organizations can do is really evaluate what the processes are and what happens at each stage. And one of the great things about AI tools is they provide the ability to do some of those code reviews earlier in the process so that rather than having your distinguished engineers reviewing a bunch of code and findings that should be identified by the junior developers, those can now be identified with some of the AI tools, making it so that the backlog of code review shrinks to where the more senior resources are really only reviewing the more meaningful and complex pieces of code because your AI tools are catching some of those changes much earlier in the process.
Alrighty. And then last question of today. One of our priorities this year is to ramp up use of Amazon Q and frankly other AI technologies as well. What should we focus on to ensure a smooth rollout? And I'd love to hear from all of the panelists on this one before we close out.
All right. Okay, I'll go first probably. Yeah. So from an onboarding perspective, onboarding insights, observability perspective, it's all about having the necessary data elements to put together the cohesive story. So yes, if we start with AI code assistance, capturing the data and the relevant inner loop and outer loop metrics that we just talked about today. So yeah, it all that takes like the time to go back into history to set a baseline. How it was, how the coding developer experience was before and after bringing in Amazon Q or any AI code assistant tools for that matter. So Opsera starts way before like when the AI coding assistant tools journey started. So yeah, so we start pulling the data from there on, and we help our customers measure both periods. How was it looking like before and how was it looking like, or how is it started trending afterwards. So in that way they'll get a baseline, and they'll also get a clear picture to compare and see how where are the gaps exactly and what are the gaps that they need to resolve, and break it down into team wise. We saw the hierarchy structure, like they can apply different hierarchy methods and simplify, like start from smaller groups of teams and then roll it up into bigger product and applications and bigger scale, and have a 30, 60, 90-day plan in place. Take Opsera's help to strategize their rollout plan as well.
From my perspective, I think one of the most important things is giving your developers time to play with and experiment with the tool. Any new tool is going to have a ramp period in terms of getting comfortable with it and being able to unlock the full potential. And so if your developers don't have that time built into their schedule, they're not going to maximize the full potential of a tool. They're going to find themselves using it on occasion, but maybe not diving in and really understanding what it can actually do, using it as a thought partner in their SDLC process, as opposed to just viewing it as another autocomplete or code suggestion tool. That's going to be the first thing. The second piece, like we've talked about today, is identifying which metrics matter to you as an organization and measuring those so that you can ensure that rather than driving towards the wrong output or the wrong behavior, that as an organization, you have that North Star that's guiding you towards elevating and improving your software development life cycle across the board.
That's a very interesting point, Austin. I was just thinking about like so we when as ops like when in Opsera Insights we start from the point where the licenses have been allocated, and we start measuring the developer activity from day 0, day 1 onwards, from the moment that they start getting the licenses, right? But on What's your thought? Like, how much of time do you think, and on an average, a developer would need to, play around with the tool and get familiarized? How much
Um,
of
yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it just depends on the frequency with which they're using a tool. Everyone's going to have a slightly different comfort level getting up to speed with a new tool, but within, a couple of weeks to a month, I'd expect the the impact to be visible and people to be seeing how that's helping and supporting their day-to-day work.
because end of the day, help answer the leadership a lot of questions, right? So how is the adoption coming around? How is the impact? Are there more suggestions? Are there more acceptances? So on that content, so that's what gets measured ultimately towards the end. So yes, giving a ballpark number as to like how a ballpark time frame, how much a developer would need in order to get used to or get warmed up using the tool, that'll be a good, probably a baseline that Opsera can also provide.
And I think this is why it matters to not just is the user using a tool or not, but also the frequency with which they're using it, right? I would expect to see much better benefit from someone that's in the tool using it 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week than the user that uses it once a week or once a month and shows up as active, even if their engagement is much lower.
Got it.
So yeah, that's where that's where we want to add on, right? So the dashboards that you saw, it's not just different trends and KPIs that we show you there, but yeah, probably you have a set of engineers who just starting to use Amazon Q, and you already have a set of engineers who are probably experts in using multiple AI coding assistants. You can also get into a little bit deeper aspect of understanding, this frequency and probably have. So from Opsera, what we usually, give you as a strategic recommendations is whenever we onboard any new teams, right? We generally suggest to start with a small pilot team so that the ramp up becomes easier because you have a champion team to actually handle the rest of the teams. So that would be a great start. And of course, you can, deep dive into some of the, key engineers who are having maximum usage, try to get the, the winning points or, the recommendations from them and pass it on. So those are things that generally we support. And we also provide, once you see a baseline metrics available, we also provide you an executive summary of your AI investments right from your adoption to what is the current usage and how it actually impacts your ROI. So from a process perspective, Opsera handles, we provide white glove support until teams are actually seeing value with Amazon Q and also the Opsera dashboards. So those are some additional aspects that we a kind of deep dive to handle the, any new developers who are onboarded into Amazon Q.
Alrighty. And with that, we'll conclude this session. Thank you again to the panelists. We hope you and your organizations pulled takeaways from our speakers and their experiences, and we will be sharing the recording to registrants shortly after the event, so you can reference in the future. Thanks again all for joining, and we hope to see your faces and names at upcoming Opsera events.